Something even darker than the abyss of the lake flickers just below the surface. Or at least I think it does. I turn my gaze to Margaret's back. It's better to stay focused.
Fall back a bit. You're following me too closely.
Okay. The guide is looking over his shoulder, addressing Margaret.
I'm sorry.
If someone gets pulled into the lake, they'll instinctively reach for anything to hold on to. Do not let that be you.
Margaret's shoulders rise and she nods with great seriousness.
I understand. Thank you for the advice.
He ignores her gratitude.
You can speak amongst yourselves if you so choose, as long as you pay attention to where you're going. There is no worth in listening to the sounds out there. If there's anything at all, it'll only be Nixi trying to set you on edge.
All right. Then, could you tell us your name? You didn't have a chance to properly introduce yourself, and I've only heard you being referred to as the guide.
I don't have a name.
Why not? He's facing the front again, his voice as expressionless as before. I have no way of guessing how he feels as he says this.
Oh.
It's probably not something he wishes to talk about. However, there was something else I wanted to say, so changing the subject is not difficult.
Margaret, thank you for allowing us to join you.
Margaret shrugs non-committally.
It wasn't exactly up to me. The guide said he would take you.
She hesitates and then she looks tentatively over her shoulder at me.
But thank you for saying that. It's appreciated.
Bemelle and I will do our best to be an asset on this trip, rather than a burden.
That's nice. I'm not afraid to be out here, though. Still, at least with your training, you should be able to take care of yourselves.
She sounds like she's full of surprises. I wonder if she's some kind of magic user or something. Or she has some kind of crazy two-handed greatsword hidden under that skirt of hers. It's comforting to know that everyone here is so confident in their abilities. Not enough to forget how terrible it feels to be over this lake. I am not sure if that is fortunate or unfortunate. Believing yourself to be secure doesn't mean that you are. Those voices. Okay. As the conversation lulls, a new sound breaks through. It's the whispering noise again. It's the chatter of inhuman voices, and this time coming from all around us. Oh no.
Taking care of yourself is exactly what you need to do.
The guide is speaking again, except louder, as if to cover the Nixi's voice with his own.
Work to survive at all costs, and hope that everyone around you has enough sense to do the same. That's the only way you'll make it to the other side.
Margaret nods in response, but I hear a grunt from behind me.
Groups tend to go further when they work together to achieve the same goal.
Yeah, you tell them, Bemelle. The guide doesn't say anything in response to Bemelle's grumbling either. I'm not sure whether he didn't hear Bemelle or whether he just didn't feel the statements made thus far are worthy of addressing. I have a feeling it's the latter. We go around a large bend in the bridge, part of it forking off to another way. I wonder how the guide knows which one of these essentially identical paths is correct when something in the corner of my eye catches my attention. Oh no.
I believe I saw something over there.
Keep walking. No need to worry.
The guide's voice is calm and level. I decide against pressing the issue, not wanting to set everyone even more on edge.
What did he say?
Perhaps not wanting the conversation to be caught by the guide. He speaks softly, though I couldn't quite hear him because of it. What is this behind you? Oh my goodness, it looks like human but all twisted and weird, and it has glowing eyes. I take my eyes off Margaret ahead for a moment to explain it to Bemelle, and stop dead in my tracks. Only one word is able to escape me in my stunned state.
Behind.
Behind Bemelle stands another figure, looming in the darkness. Seeing my face, Bemelle grabs the hilt of his sword. He whips around, then staggers swiftly backwards. Several meters away, a crooked, twisted black figure hobbles its way towards us. Some kind of liquid drips off its head, curling around the edges of its face. It almost looks like it's crying. Bemelle backs up until he's standing beside me. The figure continues its slow advance, head jerking from one angle to another.
What on earth?
It's one of them.
Yes, Nixi that stumble across the bridges looking for opportunities.
The guide is standing next to us. I didn't even notice him approach.
The ones that can make it out of the water are generally referred to as prowlers.
I had no idea things like that were out here. Is that what Kikka saw down the other path?
The guide says nothing, instead returning to the front of the party. Margaret watches him pass. Her frustration morphs into nervous optimism when something seems to come into her mind.
Well, Nixi aren't slowed down much by swords, but at least light keeps them away, right?
Margaret's hand grips her face tight, and desperation bleeds into her voice. I bite the inside of my lip.
Direct light will force it to return to the lake. However, it'll try to drag the light, or you, down with it before it goes.
Instinctively, I reach for the hilt of my sword, despite the fact that it would do little to protect me. The prowler is getting closer, jerking forward, stopping, then resuming its slow advance.
Okay, does anyone have a light we can leave here? That way it won't follow us.
Only matches.
Bemelle spits. He's the one bringing up the rear, so he's the one most likely to be in danger if it keeps following. The guide, however, moves forward.
Don't forget it's there, don't let your guard down, and don't get left behind.
What? How am I supposed to keep walking with this thing at my heels? You said it wants to attack.
Don't give it the chance.
Bemelle sputters in anger, and the guide summarily ignores him. I solidly grab hold of Bemelle's upper arm.
Here, I'll lead you like this, and you can keep your focus solely on the prowler. Make sure it doesn't get too close.
Bemelle eyes the guide with unresolved hostility, but allows himself to softly sigh in relief. He gazes at me with fondness.
At least there's someone I can count on.
Yes, you can count on me. I'll take care of you, no worries. Despite the fact I'm going against his advice, the guide says nothing more. It's clear now that he doesn't give a damn what we end up doing. Some part of me is glad for that. I want to help everyone make it through, and it would be worse to have to persuade the guide every time help was necessary.
Kikka, thank you.
Of course. Bemelle places a gentle hand on my shoulder. Place my hand over his, nod seriously. Well, are we gonna be the stoic Kikka the Steadfast, or are we gonna show gentleness? It's gonna be fine, friend. I'm gonna place my hand over his, and we're gonna be. Oh, he's blushing. Okay. So, okay. That was a flirty thing. It's gonna be fine. Now I just gotta, make sure that he doesn't die. I feel Bemelle start as I reciprocate his touch, but just as quickly a smile replaces his shock. He blushes. The moment is pleasant, a small balm against a large burn. I harden my expression, and Bemelle follows suit. He moves his free arm down. I fully link his arm with mine, and now properly settled, look forward. Margaret is following the guide with some reluctance, turning back every so often to check on us. I wave my lantern to signal we are catching up. Margaret returns her head to the front and quickens her pace. With a tug on Bemelle, we start to follow them. The four of us continue cautiously over the bridges. Only this time the wet squishing footsteps of the prowler join the sound of our own. In spite of myself, I grip Bemelle tighter. The prowler walks without a set pattern, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. It takes long steps, then short ones. At times it stops walking entirely. Does it hurt to be out of the water like this? Or is it trying to be difficult to read? Suddenly, the whispering in the lake grows louder. I steel myself, trying not to let it get to me. The most important thing in a situation like this is to remain calm. I can't lose my head. Yeah, Kikka, you're right. You can do this. I'm not sure if I can though as a player. I'm worried about all of these characters. Then, all at once, I notice the guide and Margaret have come to a halt.
Bemelle, they're stopping.
Bemelle slows down as I do, and as we near Margaret's back, she says with something akin to distress,
There's another one.
"Oh no." I tug on Bemelle and he understands. We draw up close to Margaret, ready to protect her if need be, but the guide holds out a hand.
Don't get any closer.
Just over his shoulder, I see another prowler stumbling towards us, white liquid dripping from its eyes. The guide's hand turns over in the air, palm up.
Give me a lantern. We'll throw it.
Margaret extends her own with a trembling hand when Bemelle speaks instead, his back still turned.
If you have to take someone's, take mine.
No.
Yes, an extra light won't do us much good when we're standing this close together.
Margaret takes Bemelle's lantern from him, guarded relief displaying on her features.
Thank you.
She hands the lantern to the guide, whose hand grips it tightly, knuckles growing pale.
Stay here. I can't throw it too far. The light will blow out before it reaches the Nix.
He steps closer to the monster, his movements light and confident as he nears the prowler starts to back away. Is it only the approaching light that's making it retreat, or are they afraid of him? The guide is far enough away from us that the fog is partially obscuring him, hiding his movements. The voices from the lake grow louder and louder. Water suddenly begins to splash across the lake in the distance and onto the edges of the bridge. There is something wrong with our guide. I don't trust him, not at all. If I need to sacrifice someone, he's gonna be the first one. I'm sorry, but he doesn't seem to care about any of us. On the other hand, if he's constantly taking people over this lake and sees them die, I guess that might make a person try to protect themselves and be more stone-faced in order to deal with that sort of thing, but something is wrong with him. I don't trust him at all. They want him to mess up. Then, suddenly, the guide takes multiple long and fast strides forward, throws the lantern, and jumps backwards to regain the lost distance. There's a sharp hiss and then a deep splash, and the voices of the Nixi grow quieter. Not silent, but quieter. A sigh escapes me, and the guide comes back to our group.
We should keep going, before it comes back.
I glance at Bemelle and realize he, too, is looking relieved at the guide before us. Oh no, so who is looking at the prowler behind you? And then I see it. No! I'm an adult, I don't need to squeal. If I see monsters in games, it's gonna be fine. The first prowler. It's still there. It's right there. Pull Bemelle forward. I shift around, pulling Bemelle behind me. The prowler lunges after him, barely missing Bemelle, but striking my lantern instead. The fire goes out and the two of us are plunged into an unearthly darkness. Oh no! Then there's a slick splash. I realize the Nix has retreated into the water. Somehow, Bemelle and I are still standing. We're still here.
Kikka, thank you.
I can't respond. Something cold, wet, and slimy has grabbed my ankle. Kick it off! I kick my leg out as fast as I can, and the Nixi's hold slips. It can't pull with the momentum I've gained against it. Margaret rushes to my side, her lantern hanging out towards the Nix. The light brushes its face. We see it for an instant, its eyes wide, and then it slides back into the smooth surface of the water. Bemelle grabs Margaret and I both, helping us towards the center of the bridge and cussing under his breath.
I only looked away for 1 second.
It's fine, Bemelle. We're all fine.
Are you actually all right?
Margaret cocks her head down, examining my ankle, but there's nothing but a wet smudge around my trousers.
I am fine.
I say that though I don't actually want to let go of Bemelle. I need to, in order to relight our lantern and provide us actual safety, but I feel such a strong desire not to be alone in this moment. I shake my head roughly and let go of him, relighting the lantern as fast as I am able.
Kikka, thank you. Again. You saved my life. I won't let this happen again.
Yes. Yes. It would be good for all of us to pay more attention.
Margaret nods solemnly. Suddenly, it seems like we're all on the same side. It isn't only Bemelle and I. She is with us in more than simply presence. The guide's voice, as cold as Monster's grasp, ends my train of thought.
We lost the lantern I threw. A Nix grabbed it after the light went out.
Margaret makes a noise. I glance over, wondering whether she's upset, but there's a small smile on her face instead.
It's better than them taking anything else.
A nervous laugh bubbles up out of me, and just as quickly stops. Bemelle chuckles in response, and our collective tension eases up, the adrenaline draining from our bodies.
We need to keep walking.
The guide starts down the bridge again, and we join him. I try to clamp down on the relief, the ease that wants to flood my head. It's not over. The prowler is gone, but so is Bemelle's lantern.
You can stay near me, Bemelle, since your lantern is lost.
I appreciate it.
Margaret goes on ahead of us. Bemelle stays by my side as I keep at the end of line. The breath of release for Margaret and Bemelle is quickly swallowed by the somber atmosphere of Sinnlos as well, replaced by the gravity of the near-death experience. Never mind celebrating his survival, something like that shouldn't have happened in the first place. The memory of the prowlers reaching out towards us appears each time I close my eyes.
Why does it look like something's dripping down their faces?
The prowlers are on Margaret's mind too. Looking at her pained expression, it's as though the moment of relief never existed at all.
I'm not sure.
Me neither. Something's wrong with them, though.
They live in water. Air shouldn't be good for the things, but they want to drown humans so much they're willing to drag themselves around on land? It's not right.
Of course it isn't. They are monsters. They likely do not understand even the concept of right and wrong.
Well, I don't disagree that there's something very wrong about them. I truly hope that's the last we'll see of the prowlers.
Something comes to her mind, causing Margaret to enter part of the conversation early.
Since you two have to share a light, wouldn't it be safer to be in the middle?
Margaret stops and waits for Bemelle and I to reach her position.
That way, you'll catch the edges of my light and the guide's, and it won't be so dangerous if Bemelle loses his position momentarily.
That's a very kind offer, Margaret.
Bemelle's surprise is so apparent. I want to cover his face with my hands to stop him from insulting her. She merely smirks. I think Margaret may be surprised with herself too. Bemelle returns to his usual surety.
As thoughtful as it is, I, at least, am fine with bringing up the rear. I'm used to keeping watch for monsters, and since there are two of us, I can pay attention to the back while Kikka focuses ahead. It's not my light, though, so I shouldn't be the one to decide what she should do with it.
Margaret and Bemelle turn to look at me in unison. Seems like it's my decision. Neither of them are wrong. As for me, my goal is to protect everyone. I can't very well do that with Margaret following behind us. But being stuck in the middle of the group could also be dangerous, depending on what circumstances we come across. Getting pincered by the enemy would be an almost sure death, no matter how experienced Bemelle and I are. I just don't know what to expect from this bridge, and that makes things so much more difficult. The current format has worked so far. I like to move.
So you're staying behind?
I'm not good with fast choices. So you're staying behind.
Seems like it.
I guess we are.
Yes, I think we'll be good here. But really, thank you. That was a very kind offer.
Well, all right.
Margaret respects our decision and trots ahead a bit to catch back up with the guide. He who has paid no mind to the entire affair.
So, I don't want to sound like a child, but how much longer until we arrive at the halfway point?
When do we arrive? When are we there? Are we there yet? Margaret chuckles, reflecting the amusement I don't want to vocalize.
We still have some ways to go.
Damn.
I suppress my laughter yet again at his pouting response. The gloom we've been under dissipates slightly like light flickering through the fog.
The first trial tends to be the most difficult. I believe we will only react better from this point on.
I like the way you think.
Then a gleam enters Bemelle's eyes, and he grins.
I think Kikka deserves a round of applause. Her quick reflexes are owed the utmost appreciation.
He leans softly into my shoulder, trying to get me to... what?
It was indeed a sight. You're quite capable. Bemelle was also a sight, but for very different reasons. The way he froze with his mouth all agape was a laugh in itself.
Bemelle shakes a fist at Margaret in mock anger, then shots me an affectionate look.
You should know, she and I are usually on equal footing.
The only reason you had footing at all is because she pulled you back.
Bemelle laughs, self-consciously scratching his head.
That's very true. You can always count on Kikka.
Can you, though? Will we make the right decisions? I know I will try my best, but the description of this game clearly implied that I cannot save everyone, which is precisely the same thing our guide told us.